The best way to get anime lines into your OBS Studio is by going to YouTube and typing anime lines. Boom, you got this. All you have to do is download this, bring it into OBS Studio as a media source, slap a chroma key effect on it, and you got anime lines. But here on the channel, we love to do things from scratch. Why? Because it allows me to make a video that is full of tips and tricks on how to use OBS Studio, how to do very, very specific things in OBS Studio, how to use specific plugins. So if you use OBS Studio frequently, those are really valuable things to learn because one day you'll want to create something and you'll know exactly how to do it. So let's get right into it. There's actually 3 ways to create those anime lines. I showed you the first one, even though you're not really creating it. Here's the second one. I'm actually gonna make it in that scene with my camera just so that I keep you distracted with my face. So the first thing we're gonna do is add a color source. So we're gonna click on the plus here, go to color source. I'm gonna call this one 1. I'm gonna click select color. I'm gonna click on the white to make sure it's pure white. Boom, by default, it's kind of gray. Click OK. Yours will probably fill your screen. I'm on like a 4K resolution thing or 1440p. So it's kind of weird. I can press Control F to fit to screen. Boom. There you go. First tip. I can go to filters. I'm going to go user defined shader. This is from the shader filter plugin. If you're wondering, how do I get the shader filter plugin? Google shader filter plugin OBS. One word, shader filter, by the way. Click load shader from text file. It's going to bring you, when you click browse, on a list of a bunch of shaders, and you want to look for corner pin. There's 2 of them. You want corner dash pin because you're going to have better comments. And all we have to do now is basically create a little rectangle-ish thingy. So I'm going to go top left here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go top right X also. I'm going to do that. Now I want bottom right X, and would you look at that? We have a little triangle, a little pointy triangle thing. I can scale it, of course. I can also stretch it by holding Shift. Another tip. I can also crop it by holding Alt, but it's not really useful right now. Also, it's acting weird because I press Control F to fit the screen, and we don't necessarily need that. So I'm going to go right click. I'm going to go reset transform. Control R. So now if I crop by holding Alt and dragging the side, I can actually see my cropping and what it does. There you go. Now all we have to do is basically repeat this step, maybe play around with the settings of that shader filter, the corner pin thing, to have like different looking ones. But it's practically just placing them, rotating them like this until you are satisfied with the results. So let's do that. So I'm gonna right click, copy, right click, paste duplicate. It creates like a different one. So it's not necessarily affected by filters that you put on the first one. And now I can just do this and just do that. And again, you can scale, you can crop, you can stretch, but you don't necessarily need to crop here. And we might time lapse all of this. Okay, now I'm gonna try something that I haven't tried before. I'm gonna select all of them. I'm gonna right click, copy, and I'm gonna basically try to mass duplicate them. I'm gonna right click, paste, duplicate. Okay, which seemed to have worked. All right, and now the crucial part. So we have 111 here. So I'm guessing it's from there all the way up here. Cool. So I can move them all together. That's cool. Can I transform them all together? Flip horizontal. What? I can't. I can't. It's all like individual. Well, that kind of sucks. Okay, I'm gonna delete them and we'll try something else. Technically, you could just continue, do it manually, but no, don't crash. Oh my God. Okay, it did not like that, but we are back. So what I'm gonna do is group them all together. Right click, group selected items, give it a name, and collapse. Cool. I'm gonna right click on the group, copy, right click, paste, duplicate. And now I can right click that group. I can do transform. And instead of doing flip horizontal, I'm gonna try to do rotate 180 degrees because we don't want it to look too much like a mirror. Let me explain myself. You see how it doesn't look like it's perfectly symmetrical, basically? That's what I'm looking for. Because if I didn't do that, right, and I just flipped it, let me right click, flip horizontal. This is what it would look like. It doesn't look bad, but if you place it like perfectly, you can see the top here is just like a perfect mirror. I guess that looks okay. I guess that also looks okay, but I prefer the 180 degree. So let's do that. Of course, take your time, place it. Of course, like with every video, it's always, you should be spending more time. And I talked about like 3 different ways to make the anime lines effect. We're gonna get to number 2 right now, and we're gonna use the shader filter plugin once again. So I'm gonna select one of the groups here. I'm gonna go to filters, user defined shader. Again, you need the shader filter plugin to have this option in the filters. Go to load shader text from file. And this time we're gonna find something called doodle right there, doodle.effect. And there it is. We're just gonna play around with it so that it basically shakes and kind of creates like an animation-ish effect. You have the scale percent and the snap percent, where you can basically play with the speed and the amount of, you know, movement it actually does. Snap percent, if you lower that, there you go. We're starting to get something here, right? And what I can do here is right click on this effect, copy, go to this group, go to filters, right click and paste. I don't know why it stops a little bit. I'm not completely sure, but this is one of the ways that you can create that effect. That is like simple in a way. So there you go. Here you have some anime lines, basically using the shader filter plugin only for the corner pin. So we can have the triangles, and using the doodle effect to animate them a little bit. All right, let's do method number 3. I'm going to delete those filters. Hopefully OBS doesn't crash again. And if you're worried about like OBS crashing, if you're like, oh my God, my CPU or whatever, you can just record this without your camera. You could just record the animation, because you can record with OBS Studio, and then re-import it as a video, as a media source, and just put it on a loop, and you would be fine. Of course, you would have a black background, but you can set the blending mode to add, right click, blending mode, set to add, and it would basically only show the white parts. See what I mean? See what I mean when I say like the video is gonna have a lot of tips? All right, method number 3 is to basically duplicate this, but have a different, like have them be a little different, right? So I'm gonna copy this group, the first group, copy. I'm gonna right click, paste duplicate, right? So it's number 3, but I'm gonna put it, I don't know, underneath this. And I'm gonna basically go ahead and move them around. So we still want them to have the same direction, but a little bit differently. So now I'm gonna time lapse this. I'm realizing something went wrong somewhere. I have double the amount of things in here. What? Look at that. So when I hover, is this the same? Yeah. When I hover over this, so I have my 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, it does the whole thing. And then it goes back. So we have 111, and then it goes back up. So I have double the amount of things that I wanted. I'm just going to delete those. I don't know why that happened. I am so confused right now. I am so confused. Everything is duplicated for some reason. Oh yeah, I promised I was going to keep my face in there. So yeah, the process is the same. As you can see, it's to just change it a little bit so that the lines are different and pointing in the same direction. And we're just going to do the same thing for that side. So turn off this, copy this, duplicate this, paste duplicate. Okay, make sure you have the right amount. Yes. Okay, all good. Now we're going to turn off the first one, or we're going to keep it. Yeah, let's keep it on just so we can make sure that we're changing stuff. For example, this one is small, is pointing here. We can move it and we can rotate it a little bit, make it point here, right? That one is big. We can rotate it and we can make it on the outside a little bit, and we can go and play with the filter, make it a little thinner since it was thick before. That's it. That's all we're doing. Time lapse. Now, one thing that I'm realizing is that the filters are affecting, some of them are like references instead of duplicates. And I don't understand why that is. And honestly, like I'm not even gonna bother. So what I'm gonna do is basically just play with the position, and I'm just not gonna touch the filter for some of those. So right now it's gonna look a little weird. It's because we have both of them on at the same time. but don't worry too much about that. I will turn one of them off at the time. So yeah, we're basically gonna recreate that same thing of that doodle filter, except we wanted to basically alternate in between those two groups, right? So it's gonna have like a different position each time. And we're gonna use the move plugin for that, also known as the move transition plugin. This is the part where you maybe want to name your groups. For example, this is left 1 and this is left 2. So I can click on it, press F2 to rename stuff. That's another tip. And name it left 1, left 2, right 1, right 2. So now there's something kind of peculiar with, oh, didn't mean to do that. There's something a little peculiar with the move plugin is that you can add it to groups or a scene. You can't add it to a source individually. So we're gonna go to the scene and I'm gonna right click and we're gonna do filters. We're gonna go plus and we're gonna have move source. Again, you need the move plugin installed in your OBS for this to, well, to be there. And we can already name the filter. This is the one that's going to activate the left 1. And here on source, I'm gonna find left 1. Okay. When it comes to custom duration, I think we're gonna go 40 milliseconds because we want that to be pretty fast. And we're not gonna move anything. We're just gonna make it visible and then invisible. So if we scroll down to visibility and order, we can find show during movement. Basically, when this filter is activated during 40 seconds, turn that on. If I click on it, that's it. That's it. That's all it is. And of course, this is giving us like a lot of control over it because we can change the duration whenever we want. We can duplicate this, and this is going to be left 2. And this is what's going to create the alternate effect, right? Left 2 on sources, and we don't need to change much. Left 2 is going to look like this, and left 1 is going to look like that. Now, how do I make this go, you know, from left 1 to left 2? I'm going to go to left 1. I'm going to scroll down and tell it that after you're done with left 1, basically the next move is going to be left 2. I was going to do it once. Okay, you see where I'm going with this? Maybe 40 seconds is too fast. Let's go. Did I say 40 seconds? Let's go 60 milliseconds for both. Yeah, so flash warning, I guess like there's going to be it's going to be anime lines, all right? In order to create a perfect loop, all we need to do is tell left 2 to go back to left 1 after it's done. So next move, left 1, and boom. There you go. That's the effect. Now we just need to do the same thing with the right side. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. That's going to be right 1. Source, I want right 1. Since I duplicated, it already has the show during movement thing. Duplicate it again, and this is going to be right 2. Nice. Tell right 1 to have right 2 as the next move. And tell right 2 to have right 1 as the next move. All right. Now, how do I trigger both at the same time? Well, there's next move, but there's also simultaneous move. So all I have to do is tell left 1 to have right 1 as simultaneous move. And this did not go as planned because every time it's hitting. Oh, okay, I get it. I get it. We don't need right 1 and right 2 to have their next move because they can just be simultaneous move from left 1 and left 2. So the next move that I just put, you can remove that. There you go. Right 2, let's remove next move. So now left 1 is playing right. So now left 1 is playing right 1 simultaneously, and we just need left 2 to play right 2 simultaneously. So simultaneous move for left 2 is right 2. Why is it not changing though? Is it doing it? Why is right 2 is not playing actually? Oh, that means that I didn't choose the right source for right 2. There you go. Source, right 1. That's the mistake. Look at that. We're even learning troubleshooting. And that's pretty much the effect. Now, if you actually want it to be a little softer, what you can do is basically make it fade in and fade out. Make all of them fade in and fade out. And you can do this by right-clicking on the group, going to show transition, going to fade, but right before that, remember, it's going to stay on for what? 60 milliseconds. So we can say 30 milliseconds is the time it's going to take to fade. And then click on fade. So we're already seeing like transparent ones right there. Do the same thing for the other one. Short transition, 30 milliseconds, fade. But I'm getting too much transparency. Why is that? Oh, it doesn't let me go to, what? It doesn't actually let me go to 30 milliseconds. What's the lowest I can go on this? 50 milliseconds is the lowest you can actually go on those. Okay, didn't know that. Hey, we learned something. Short transition for this one, 50. Let's see how that looks. And just do the same for the rest. And you can also set the hide transition. Okay, now let's set the hide transition for them. You can see that it makes it stay a little bit more permanent. So I'm only gonna set that to one of them, of each basically. Nice. Now let's say I want to create like a whole animation that I just want to trigger as like a media source. I don't want this to be going on forever. Let me create a new scene. And let's add a color source. Make it white. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Do this. I'm going to rotate it. And I might make it way bigger actually. Okay, don't rotate it too much. Something like this. I'm going to right click, copy, right click, duplicate. And I'm going to bring this one like this. Cool. Now I'm going to go ahead and right click on the scene, add a filter, and it's going to be a move source. I'm going to select color source and I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to click get transform just to make sure I have the position of my color source, which is the top one, I think. In this case, I want it to take its sweet time. We're going to go 700 milliseconds. That's nice. And I should probably name this top fin for top final position. I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to call this one top reset. So that's when it's out of frame, when I want to reset it. And to do this, I'm going to click color source. And I'm going to drag it out of frame to where I want it to start, basically. Scroll down, click get transform. Nice. So now I can have a very simple movement. Do the same thing for the other one. Make sure you select the right source. Select it. Move it out of the way. Get transform. So now, beam, bam, that's what I want to happen. So let's reset and do that. So I want that when I triggered this, I would like the bottom one to also be triggered. So I'm going to scroll down and I could do simultaneous move, bottom finale. So when I do this, nice. That's pretty much the effect I'm looking for. Maybe a little fast. Let's go for 1300 milliseconds. And then for reset, I want both of them to do the same thing, of course, at the same time, I mean. So top reset should have bot reset as simultaneous move. So now I can just play around and do this. Nice. And reset just like that. Now, the idea here is I want this to come in, the anime lines to trigger, hold for a couple seconds, and then move away. So we're going to add the anime lines as a scene since we left it in its own scene. It was scene 2. Nice. Put them all the way down and we can turn that off. We're going to add another move source and call it anime lines. Select scene 2, which is our anime lines. And here I would say pick the custom duration of the whole thing, right? So basically top and bottom is going to slide in and then anime lines are going to get activated. Now you pick how long you want them to stay. Let's say 2 seconds. And now I can scroll down and say that the next move is going to be the reset, but reset. So now top fin, I can tell it that once it's done, so next move should be anime lines. All right. So top and bottom final position are simultaneous, but the next move after that is the anime lines. Anime lines last 2 seconds and then reset. Let's make sure that I have bot reset. Next move, I do. So now basically, if you're using StreamerBot or whatever you're using, if you're streaming and you want people to trigger this, all you have to do is activate one. And I'm going to do this with one click. Boom, comes in. I forgot the visibility on anime lines. Also, why is this not resetting? So bottom reset, what are you doing? Simultaneous move, I forgot to put it top reset. So anime lines, we want the visibility to be on during the movement. So visibility in order, we want show during movement. There you go. That's gonna turn it on and then turn it off when it's done. So technically now with one click, I should have this animation. Close enough. Now let's say I wanted to not have all of those scenes and I don't really want control over it. That's the animation that I want. And I kind of want to not use a bunch of resources on my OBS and most importantly, not use a bunch of scenes and all that stuff. What I can do, make sure I don't have my mic on here, is start recording, trigger this, and then stop recording. Nice. Okay. So now I can go back to this scene with my camera, for example, and I can go to media source, browse, and go find it. Right there. Now this is the whole animation thing. So we're not going to loop it. We don't want it to restart basically. It's just going to be a one-time thing. And we can even do restart playback when source becomes active, right? Oh. There's the animation and it's out. Okay. And that's just a file. And I don't know if you saw, but that file was 1 megabyte or 1 megabyte, I should say. So very, very light on your computer compared to, you know, what, like the 50 sources that we had. Of course, it is not transparent. And what I was saying is you right click, blending mode, add, turn it off, turn it back on again for it to replay. There it is. There it is. So with something like StreamerBot, you would just say, set this source active, wait a couple seconds for it to be done, and then set it inactive. And then you can put whatever trigger you want, alerts, channel points, anything you can imagine. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I know the anime lines don't look as good as I would want them to look, but obviously, like, I'm just showing you the technique. You would want to go, if you really want to recreate it the way that they usually do it, you would actually like get the one from YouTube and really kind of copy like the way they place them. I just improvised because I just wanted to show you the technique really fast. And that's pretty much it. Go follow me on Twitch and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.